Steve, I know your research has encompassed not only reflection about ministry with younger adolescents, high school students, middle school, et cetera, but you've been focusing some of your work on what we might otherwise call young adults, college students, whether they're in or not in university. What are some of the things you found that churches wish they knew, parents wish they knew about the spiritual journeys of these young adults?
Yes, it's been something that's really been inspiring to talk with especially college age and college students in particular, undergraduates, and talk with them about how they think about their spirituality in college. There's a lot of interesting research out right now about college students. Majority of them value spirituality. A majority of them believe in God. A lot of them have a much more traditional view of Christian spirituality, actually, which isn't always the narrative that we hear. A lot of times what parents will tell their young, their kids going off to college is, it's a scary place, so find a group quick and hang in there. That's about the only advice that they get. And I think that young people could use a lot more help than that. What I discovered was a couple of things, is that as I worked with students and heard their stories, it was interesting because they struggled on a number of different levels over different things. Sometimes it was something they learned in the classroom that didn't fit with what they had grown up with, say, in their churches. And so obviously there's sort of that struggle there as well. A lot of times it had to do with more relational struggle, finding friends, feeling accepted, these type of things. And so they talked a lot about their struggle in sort of finding that. And it all sort of ties to a broader sort of spiritual sort of concept, because they're going, where's God in the midst of these things? As I dug deeper, though, I realized something. That struggle that they articulated had to do more than just with intellectual struggle. There's an intellectual, relational, and emotional element associated with spiritual struggle. Intellectually, a lot of times college students go through this process of doubting and rejecting, and then trying to find their way, and then finally they begin to contribute again. Emotionally, most college students reported to me that they felt a sense of sort of the dark side of struggle, of feeling depressed and anxious and angry and confused, with very few getting to sort of the positive side of feeling this new sense of hope because they've worked through it. They were sort of on the front end of that. And then relationally, they realized that as they wrestled with their faith, that it would have an effect on some of the other relationships in their lives. So an example would be this. A student would say to me, in my science classes, I'm learning this, and this is what I learned at church or at home. And they're not completely coming together for me. But I'm okay with that, because I know eventually I'll work through that. But what is troubling to me is this, is that if I voice what I believe, if I voice my doubts, my mom will be upset, my dad will be mad, my parishioner, the adults in my former church will be worried, and my pastor will put me on the prayer list. And let's be honest, nobody wants to be on the prayer list, right? And so for college students, what's interesting is this, is that intellectual struggle for them has relational fallout. And what I find so compelling about that is this, is that this is the most vulnerable time in a young person's life, as they're making sense of their world and they're going through these things. And a lot of times what, especially college students hear from a lot of their home churches is, where are you? Why'd you leave us? Where are you going? Do you not believe anymore? Just think what that sounds like to a college student who's in this vulnerable state, trying to figure things out, and they feel like they're losing their relational ties because of these, some ways to them, hurtful statements that are being made. And so it really set me back to just kind of give some pause and going, well, how do we help college students actually support them in these journeys as they wrestle with these things? And I think that there are some better answers and some more hopeful ways for us that we can support them. And I really hope to continue to do some research to explore those things.